Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and in today's video we will be discussing the 2022 Senate races and my current prediction. So it's March 1st, again I've been saying that we're going to do these once a month, and I'm going to attempt to continue that schedule. So it is time for our next Senate prediction. Again, I hope you all are having a fantastic day. Just wanted to say that. But yeah, so let's get started. Now, for those of you who don't know, this one of these Georgia states is filled in blue because they haven't removed because that's John Ossoff's seat, and they haven't removed it since the runoffs because he won, and he'll be serving at least till 2026. So, yeah. Now, taking a look at our safe Democratic states, there are a number of these, starting with Hawaii, going up to California, Oregon, Washington, Illinois, Maryland. Assuming Larry Hogan doesn't run, if he does run, it's more like likely D, but still, he's probably not going to run. I know Red Eagle Politics said like in one of his videos, oh, he's going to run, but I don't know where he got that from. That would be like me saying that Laura Kelly is going to run for Senate in Kansas, which would make no sense. But Maryland should be pretty safe for the Democrats. Chuck Schumer in New York is actually fairly popular. He ran like 11 points ahead of Hillary Clinton when he was last up in 2016. He will probably do very well again. Connecticut, Vermont, assuming Phil Scott doesn't run, which he probably won't, and even if he does, it's still very likely the Democrats hold it. But, all these Republican governors that we're talking about, they're probably not going to run. So, yeah. Now, for the Republicans, they have their safe states too: Idaho, Utah, the Dakotas, Kansas, as well as Oklahoma, as well as, I don't know what just happened there. Kind of like shrunk a little bit. We don't need that to happen. Let's try to make this as large as possible. Okay, let's go with that. Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, assuming Jason Kander doesn't run, should be pretty safe for the Republicans, but I don't think he will. Iowa, which is also, if Grassley decides to retire, which I wouldn't bet on, he probably is going to serve just serve for a very long time, I suppose. But if he does not, retire, it's more likely Republican. But if he does not retire, it's safe Republican. If not, it's likely. But either way, this should be a GOP held seat. Kentucky and Indiana as well. We can float possible Democratic challengers in both these states, but we all know that the Democrats and the Democrats in both these states are going to run no names who are going to who'd be lucky to get 40% of the vote, especially in Kentucky. Alabama and South Carolina are the last two safe Republican states. So, with that being said, there are 44 safe Republican seats right now, and there are 45 safe Democratic seats. 11 competitive seats, or not really tossed, but seats that have the potential of flipping. So, starting with our likely D seats, I think Colorado. I'm moving it down from safety to likely D. I think Bennet is the Democrats. The Democrats in 2020, they won. Biden won the election by 4.5%. So you could say that the electorate was D plus 4.5. He won Colorado by like 13. So you could say Colorado voted around 8 to 9% to the left of the country in 2020. It's definitely going to vote to the left of the country again. But I think that 2022 is probably going to be like a D plus 2 or 3 year, not a D plus 5 year or something. So I think it's going to be like a 10 or 11 point victory for Michael Bennet. So, yeah, but it's definitely a pretty solid seat for the Republicans. For whatever reason they say they can target it, or that they're going to be targeting it, I don't know why, but this is a seat that is probably not going to flip. So, yeah, now our next likely Democratic seat, actually that should be it. That'll be it. Now, for the likely Republican seats, Ohio is really the only one that comes to mind right now. I mean, a lot of these ratings are going to change. I have some interesting ratings in this video, but I think that Ohio is going to be like a 7 to 8 point GOP hold. It looks like the primary is going to be between the Republican primary is going to be between Jane. I'm forgetting her last name, Jane Timken, and Josh Mandel. And Trump is planning on endorsing Timken, which should be enough for her to win the primary against Mandel. Mandel is kind of not very well liked by either suburbanites or Trump supporters. So, yeah. And then the Democrats are probably going to run Tim Ryan or the mayor of Dayton. I'm forgetting her name. But it's probably going to be Tim Ryan versus Jane Timken. And either way, Tim Renz is a good candidate for the Democrats, but he's just Ohio's gone. It's so far gone that I don't see it flipping to the Democrats right now. So that is a seat that will go to the Republican Party by a likely margin. It's not likely that the Democrats lose. The Democrats pick up the seat. It would be very interesting if they did, but I don't think it's going to happen. So moving on to our lean D states, there are quite a few of these. Starting with these Sun Belt states, Nevada and Arizona. Now Nevada, the Nevada Democratic Party is, I guess you could say, very well organized. They're on a bit of a winning streak in Nevada right now. I mean, they haven't lost a statewide election since 2014, I believe, where Governor Brian Sandoval was reelected, but he was a very moderate Republican who was very popular for whatever reason. But that's kind of it was kind of a, I guess you could say, it wasn't an accurate representation of the electorate, because in the same year the Democrats won the House vote in the state, or they came very close to winning it. I'm not sure, but yeah. So Nevada should be a state that the Democrats hold by around 4 to 5. I'd expect Catherine Cortez Masto, who's the Democrat up for re-election, to run against probably a no-name Republican. I mean, no notable Republicans have declared. The only two that come to mind are Mark Amoti, who's the lone GOP congressman from Nevada, who's probably gonna end up running for governor, and Brian Sandoval, the former governor, but I don't think he's gonna run. So the Republicans are probably gonna run a no-name. I don't know who they're gonna run, but either way, obviously depends on the candidate, but I expect Catherine Cortez Masto to improve on her margins in Washoe. She lost Washoe in 2016. I think she'll flip the county this in 2022. I mean, it's a Democratic trending county. So yeah, Clark, she'll probably improve in Clark just a little bit. She might do a little worse, maybe a little better, but I think she's improving because she'll be the incumbent. And as we know, Hispanics like to come out more for the incumbent than they did for the first time. So yeah, but Nevada should stay Democratic. Should be a 3 to 4 point Democratic win. In Arizona, similar thing. Mark Kelly's pretty popular there. The Republicans are kind of in trouble in that if they run a moderate, suburban, McCain-esque Republican, they'll probably get destroyed in the rural part of the state, or the Trumpian part of the state. And if they run someone very Trumpian, they probably will go down the same route as Martha McSally, who lost by 2.4% each time. So the Republicans in Arizona have a big problem on their hands, and I don't think that they will fix it in time to try to beat Mark Kelly. Another lean D state is Pennsylvania, and the Democrats are actually going to get the majority here, because I do believe that Georgia is a lean Democratic. So Pennsylvania, we're seeing an interesting Democratic primary there between Malcolm Kenyatta and John Fetterman. Fetterman's more progressive, Kenyatta's more of a moderate, but either way, I expect both of them, if they, no matter who gets the nomination, I think they'd probably win the general election. The Pennsylvania GOP is very divided. I mean, right now, the front runner for their primary is Ryan Costello. Costello has suburban appeal, and he supported not censoring Pat Toomey, but he'd not do very well in the rural part of the state, especially against John Fetterman. So I think the Pennsylvania should be a Democratic pickup. You know, most election forecasters agree that this is ground zero for Democrats gaining a seat in the Senate in 2022, especially with Joe Biden buying hundreds of millions of new vaccines, being a decently popular president so far. Obviously, it's very early. It's like I saw on Twitter I guess a funny joke on Twitter. Like when your parents check your grades 2 days into the semester, you have one assignment turned in and you got 100 on that. So yeah, but Pennsylvania should be flipping Democrat, as should Georgia be staying Democrat. Now, for a while, it looked like David Perdue was going to run, but like a week later, he was like, you know what, I'm good, and he dropped out of the race, essentially. So the Republicans are probably going to run either Doug Collins or Kelly Loeffler. It'll be interesting to see another one of those primaries between Collins and Loeffler. I think Loeffler would probably win again by a little less than she did last time, but we'd have to see. The Georgia GOP is more suburbanite and less Trumpian than your average GOP, so it'll be interesting, but I think Loeffler would be a bad candidate because she lost to Warnock in a January runoff, which is humiliating for her. The system was designed to benefit white conservative candidates, and in the end, it kind of backfired. At least for the Purdue Ossoff race, but yeah. But to make a long story short, the Georgia Republicans have a similar problem with the Arizona Republicans, and with Warnock being popular enough, I think he should be able to hold on. So yeah. Now, the Republicans have their lead states. I think I'm going to put Alaska here, and you might have been surprised to see Alaska not be put or labeled until just now. And I think, I wrote an article about this on my newsletter, but Lisa Murkowski is really not running I mean, she's not in a good position for 2022, honestly, because really, she has been she has been receiving bipartisan support for a while, and I think that she's going to lose a big chunk of that Trumpian vote that came out for her in 2016. They voted Republican down ballot because of her vote to uh, convict Donald Trump this year. She's divided the GOP. She has great appeal to your average suburban Republican, but unfortunately for her, Alaska's not known for its sprawling suburbs. So I think she's probably in a position to narrowly win. Uh, I think that the Trumpian base is not going to want to come out for her, and I think that Democrats, the country's so polarized, Democrats going to attack her for, her votes in the past. So I think that they can do enough to make this race close. I'm hesitant to say it'll flip, but I do think that Alaska is a very underrated sleeper state for the Democratic Party in 2022. So there are two more lean Republican states right now, Florida and New Hampshire. I think Florida right now should. I think, I had Florida as likely R, but I'm going to change it to lean Republican. This is one of my bolder predictions. I think Rubio is going to win by a lot less than people think. People say he's going to win by 10. I think he's going to win by just under 5. The Republicans, Senate Republicans, have a big issue with the Trumpian base not coming out for them in midterms. It happened in 2018. It's probably going to happen to them again, to be completely honest. And I think Rubio won't do it well enough in the Panhandle to win by double digits or come close to winning by double digits like he did in 2016. He should do well with Hispanics. He should do pretty well overall, but and he'll still outrun Trump by a little bit, but I just don't think he'll outrun him by as much as I originally anticipated. Going up to New Hampshire, this is a state where the GOP is pretty united in that they want Chris Sununu to run. I'd expect Sununu to run, and I'd expect him to win by probably 4 to 5% if he does run against Maggie Hassan. Hassan isn't too popular. I mean, she's a decently popular candidate. This is kind of like, I guess, the Montana Senate race in 2020, except New Hampshire is a swingier state than Montana. It's less blue than Montana is red. It's Democratic leaning, but it's less blue than Montana is red. In addition to that, Chris Sununu won by 30 points in his most recent gubernatorial election. Steve Bullock had won by 5. So, yeah. I think New Hampshire, in a Biden midterm, obviously, I'm not going to be one of those people who base my predictions off the fact that it's a Biden midterm, but I really do think that in a Biden midterm, the environment won't be Democratic enough to give Maggie Hassan an aerial victory like she had in 2016. So, yeah. Now, first of all, I'll just put North Carolina in the total Republican column. I think this is Wisconsin. I think is going to be the closest race. Honestly, I said it was North Carolina for a while. I think it's going to be Wisconsin. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll go in depth. But North Carolina is a state that the Democratic Party there has been coming historically very close to winning these elections, but they've been falling just short. We saw it in 2020. Biden lost it by 1%. Cal Cunningham lost the Senate race here by around 2%. And I think that the Democrats are going to lose by a little less. Obviously, the state is trending blue, and it'll be an open seat unlike 2020. But obviously, Jeff Jackson is a much better candidate than Cal Cunningham. But I don't think that the Democrats, just in a Biden midterm where the environment isn't going to be a blue wave, I don't think the Democratic Party is going to pick up the Senate seat. This is a toss-up leaning seat, but again, in a year that's not going to be something like 2018 where it was D+9, I just don't see the Democrats picking it up, especially after North Carolina voted 10% to the right. No, sorry, my bad. Especially after North Carolina voted around 6% to the right of the country in 2020. Democrats obviously didn't have a great year in down ballot races, but the Democratic Party, going back to what I said about North Carolina moving 6 points to the right of the electorate, the Democratic Party, I don't think is going to have a year where they win the generic ballot by 6 in 2022. If anything, they'll probably win it by 2 or 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. But I just don't see this being any, the country being democratic enough to elect a Democrat to the Senate of North Carolina. They'll come close. They'll probably lose by 1% though. Now, Wisconsin, this is my change. I've been saying for kind of a bit that Ron Johnson's probably going to hold. I've changed that prediction. I think that it's not going to flip to the Democratic Party, so they'd be netting one seat. Obviously, they'd kind of be trading New Hampshire and Pennsylvania, but they narrowly pick up Wisconsin. And I think that they're going to pick up Wisconsin because of the fact that Ron Johnson's votes, he's voting like he's in a safe Republican state, when in fact he's voting in a state that Joe Biden carried in 2020. Obviously, he's attempting to be as Trumpian as possible, but he's going to vote against the $2,000 or the $1,400 stimulus checks. He's going to vote probably against basically everything Biden puts out. So he's been a very partisan Republican, not very populist too. He's been kind of just your average conservative, and that works great when you're in Nebraska, but it doesn't work great when you're in Wisconsin, in a state that is very populist, and the working class there tends to vote for populist candidates, especially populist Democrats. So if the Democrats run someone who's more populist, I think they can definitely pick up this seat. Right now, they're probably gonna end up running like a decent candidate, like the state treasurer who was elected to in a statewide election in 2018. So her having won a statewide election before, I think, is going to be good for her, especially against who the Republicans put up, because they don't really have any options either. So I think that Wisconsin is going to narrowly flip to the Democratic Party, probably under 1%, probably like a similar margin. Biden carried the state by 0.7. I think the Democrats are going to pick it up by a similar margin. So this is my current Senate prediction for 2022. A lot is going to change. Again, I do not have a crystal ball. I wish I did. I do my best, but a lot's going to change. So take this with a grain of salt. But for right now, that's my prediction. Not blue top, not red Nevada, but this is my prediction. So thank you for watching this video. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.